Hello everyone, my name is Anton, and in this video I want to get into Heptabase. I'm not going to do too deep of a dive, but I want to kind of give a little cursory look into it, what my thoughts are, provide some feedback after using it for a little over a week. Let's get into it. Alright, so we're looking at the journal area here, and they have a few different areas: journal, map, cards, library, and tags, task, and highlights. Now in the journal area, this is I do like note apps that have this feature where you can just do your, by default it shows the date, what day it is of the week. You get kind of a calendar view where you can go back to different journal entries that you've had in there, and you can move from, say, one day to today, right, really quick. This looks really nice, clean, and you get a Notion feel from this particular application and the way they present all of the different content within an actual note or page, whatever you want to call it here. You get the different, each block, you have this little block type formatting here, and then you can change to all these different things here, which I think is plenty for a note app to have, all these different formats for what a block can be. These are really good. You can also use templates, so they do have a template functionality here. Now I'm showing here where you can go the long route. You can click up here, you can do template, and you can come in here and you can add a template or select a template that you want. But you can also just come in here and do a slash command, and instead of hitting template, which you can do here, and then you'll get that same window that I previously showed, but you can actually just type the name of the template and then hit enter, and it will populate that into the actual note for you. Now within a note, we can see I got different formatting for quotes, for bullet points, for toggle lists, headings, and also for to-dos, which are shown in here. And as I mentioned before, the formatting is pretty similar to Notion, and in fact you can copy and paste things from here and into Notion, and for the most part the formatting will be the same from one to the other. To jump around a little bit here, you get these to-dos or checklist type items within the formatting. And one additional thing that they give you here that some apps don't give you is the ability to set a date for this. And this could be in the past, in the future. And you also have the option to, when you change this date, to move this particular to-do or checklist item to that actual date, and this works pretty well. If I was to say, let's change this one here, you see it disappears and it will show up here underneath this date here. And if I wanted to put that back, all I have to do is come back here and change it back. But one thing we'll probably notice here is that what it does is it just appends this to the actual note. So I would have to move this back to where I want it within the note itself. And yeah, it's pretty much that simple though. But it is a nice convenience that you have tasks here and you can set dates for them. There's also a dedicated task view in here. So when you do have a date set up here, they will show up in a couple different breakdowns they have, where you have to do, upcoming, and overdue, which is pretty nice. And you also have this no due date section here as well, where anything that you haven't set a date on will show up. And you can collapse these as you need to if you don't want to see them all, or you just want to see a couple. This view is pretty nice. The biggest feature of Heptabase is its visual note-taking capabilities. Now it does have a nice, it shows a map where you can place whiteboards. And one nice thing with the whiteboards here is you can even have whiteboards within whiteboards. You can come in here, and when you create a whiteboard, they can have distinct colors, so you can identify these however you like. And all you have to do is double click into the fill, create new whiteboard, and it will create a whiteboard with the date. As you can see here, you can have notes, cards, and whiteboards that have the same name. So there is no strict unique name that you can have for cards, and you don't get notified at all if you do create a duplicate name of one of these objects within Heptabase. So if we double click into this particular whiteboard, we can come up here and we can change the name of it. We can double click within it to create an actual note. Now they have differences where this is a kind of a note within a whiteboard, but they also have the context of a card, and cards are a different piece, and I'll show how that works there, or basically what the difference is. It's pretty simple. This note will only appear here within this whiteboard. Cards have their own little library, and you can leverage cards across whiteboards. Now you get all the same formatting that you do within the journal. So we can do like just text note, you get a heading, and then underneath you still have all the different slash options that you would have in your journal. And you can insert any of these particular different things within this note here. If I were to create another note here, let's do this here. And again, one of the strengths of Heptabase is that you can take your different notes and you can visualize them in different ways. So if I want to also show relationships or connections between one idea and another idea, you can do that. You can also change the colors of these particular notes in here. You can even change the size of it and make it a smaller size, just collapse it here so it just shows the heading. And within a whiteboard, you also have the ability to create a mind map. And let me just right click in the whiteboard, and you can see these are the different options that you can add. You can add a card, you can add just text, which basically these here are. You can do a mind map, you can add a journal, a section, and you can add whiteboard in here, and you can also link this to another whiteboard. So let's go ahead and I'll just go through each one. We've already done that particular item. If I just do text, let me see, this is just text. Go ahead and put that one there. You can move that around however you want to. We'll do a mind map. We'll do main node here, and then we can node 1, node 2, and so on and so forth. You can do this here. Click on there. We can add another one there. You can just click the little plus item, and you can keep going. And you can move these around as you see fit. You can even go on to the left of this particular mind map and extend things out this way. So there we go with that one there. And if we go to journal, you can see we can add in today's journal. It has the template in there as I did before. Good thing here is you can pretty much put things side by side, and you can type from one to the other. These here are dynamic, so you can, as you go in here, you're impacting the actual note or journal itself. Go ahead and delete this one here since it's empty. And then we have a section. So if we create a section, let me go ahead and move this. Let's move this up here. We have this here in a section. I can create another one here. That's within that section. You have your little header where you can give it a header. And you can also, again, change the coloring of that there. And then whiteboard, where we can come in here and we can create another whiteboard. We can see here where we get this breadcrumb effect here. And we will just put sub right there. We can see we have one whiteboard inside of another whiteboard. And lastly, we can come in here and we can link to another whiteboard that already exists. So if we were to come in here and say, let's select this whiteboard here. We'll move this down. So the next thing is the card library. So we created a few new cards here in those other whiteboards, and we can see that they come up. The default is a wonderful new card that shows up in these here, and I won't delete that now, but you see all these here. And what happens too is if you delete or remove a card from a whiteboard, it still stays in the card library. You have to actually delete them in a different way here. And if you delete them from the card library, they actually are deleted and are put into the trash. Within the card library, you can sort these. So you can have PDF, journals, highlights, videos, images, and audio show up in this card library. You can select these so that it only shows the ones that you want it to show within there. You can actually come in here and you can filter by tags, filter by library, and then you have some custom filters you can add in here. You do get a tag area, and in the tag area, one bit of feedback for tags is that you can only select one tag at a time. So if you want to delete multiple tags or perform a task, some kind of task on multiple tasks, you cannot do that right now. Another thing is that right now we see up top here we have search for tags, but there, if we scroll all the way to the bottom, we can see that there are two buttons here to add a tag and add a new group where you can group tasks. These are here at the bottom, and they're also scrolling with the tags themselves. So the more tags you have, the less you're going to see that those buttons are there. So it took me a while to figure out how can I do groups, tag groups, until I scrolled all the way down and saw these buttons. These should be at the top and not scroll so that they're always seen within this particular view. Outside of that, I think the tags are pretty nice. You can select a tag, see if there's something here. So like you can see the numbers of how many notes are linked to these tags. I can come in here and I can click on this one here. We can see I have 2 meeting notes in here. We can come in and add properties, additional properties like status to these particular notes that are in here. And you can come in here and you can add new properties that you would like to have for this particular hashtag. And you can change views as well. So you have the table view, which is by default. You also have a Kanban view here that we can move things to if we, say, have different statuses or different phases that we want these particular notes to go through. We can go ahead and set those up. So this is nice. We can come in here and we can do filters. The one thing about the filtering, another piece of feedback, is that in here you can only do you can only filter through properties that you have here that you've created. So within these, like if I was to select one of those, we can see that there are default properties on here created and updated, which I wish would be added to this filter list. So if I wanted to filter by when they were created, then you don't get that property here to be able to use that. So it would be nice to have that particular filter added in here. Within here, you can also add a new card, which should automatically get the tag associated with it, as it does there. So that's one way to create new properties. So like if you have a person property, you want to add new people, or person tag, I should say, then you can go ahead and add people cards in here, and they'll automatically be tagged with those. One thing with the database properties that you do get here, you don't get a formula or function type of property to where you can do calculations. So I wish that if they had that, that would really set this to be a true competitor, say with Notion, where you do have formulas that you can leverage within a property, and then you can use other properties within that formula to provide either you're doing calculations or data manipulation that you're doing within there. I already talked about tasks, and then there are highlights. So one strength with Heptabase here is that you can come in here and you can do highlights on PDFs, and you can set regional type highlights where you can just put a border around something here, or you can just do the typical highlight that you would have. And these show up here on the side. You can put notes to them, and these are deep links. So if I scroll all the way up and I want to get to that particular location for that highlight, it will take me to that. And where this also comes into play is if we go back to the map, one thing I did not show when we're here, we can come up here and we can say have this side pane open to your journal, and you can choose which dates you might want in there. Or I can come in there and I can choose highlights. So I have highlights here, and if say I want to bring this highlight over onto the board, I can. And if I want to locate that highlight, it will take me to that highlight within the PDF directly there. You can also come over here and have multiple items in here. So let's say if I wanted to put, say, this card here and multiple cards, you could put a large number of cards in here and then leverage them on the whiteboard for doing some kind of research. If I want to take this information, and this is probably going to show you some of the quirks with this. If I move that over and I drag it in there, we can see that that shows up here. I can move around the board. I can click this. It shows up here in a full window. I can see the information about it, whether there's any backlinks or tags, etc. I can come in here, over here. Let's go ahead and see if we're within the same block here, and this is an edit. You can see that this does not change anything over here in this card. So once I move this over, it's somewhat changed things around here to where this new card here is a little bit different from this block now. So you can still continue to edit this block, but if you wanted to edit the actual say card here, so if I come here, I can edit, this is another edit. That changes the name, because this is basically taking the first line that's being the header of this here. If I change something in this line, let's see, edit second line, right? That does not show up. But because this first block is being used as the name of this particular card, it does change that within the link that's being shown here. But as you saw, within this block, I can add additional things, and it somewhat is a bit confusing here on what this behavior is. If I went to a journal, let me go to a journal, and let's open up the side pane. Let's come in here to thought. So I have this same thing here. If I was to come and drag that in, you can see it in this one, the behavior of me dragging and moving that particular block over into the journal is that it moved the entire block from this card over into this journal. So the behavior of how you move things around from, say, card to journal versus card to map is completely different. Go ahead and reconnect this. Not sure why we're getting this particular error here, but I have seen this error pop up a few times. I'm working right now in a browser, so the browser is not the local app, and you do get a local application with this here as well. So this is a little bit weird the way it's acting. I'll go ahead and refresh, and it comes back. Now, I don't get that message too much, but you can see that it did pop up there. So that is, or could be, an issue if you're working within the browser. There's also the local app, and then there's the status here too. Within the browser, the local app also shows the status on what's going on. Now, I showed that, let me see, I went through everything here. The only thing that I want to show here is the search. So search there is a bug here where if I was to come in here and do a partial search of a word, it does not search within the journal. Actually, if I do a full search of the word, it doesn't show up in the journal. It doesn't show up here because if the word is in the journal. So journal searches are not being done for some reason with the web app. But if I was to pull in here the local app here, and I did that same search, we can see that a partial word does show up, and we can see that over here it is in one of my journal templates. So it's in one of the journals. We can see that it has a date here, and if we do the full word, this shows up. And one of the reasons I'm bringing this up by saying the partial word is that within Notion, as a comparison between Notion and Heptabase, is that the search in Notion would not pick this up, would not pick this word up. I would have to have the entire word that I'm searching for within Notion for it to actually find it. So the search is still, again, it's much better than Notion, but on the web app, you can see that it doesn't search through the journal entries. Now, there's also mobile apps for iOS and for Android. And if we want to take a look at the iOS app, it is pretty intuitive as far as what you get with the Notion app. With the Heptabase application on mobile. It's pretty fluid. You can go ahead and you can go into notes. We can go around. We can click that tab, the card tab, see all of our tabs. We can see our whiteboards that are out here. I can click on a whiteboard and I can move around the whiteboard. You're not going to be able to add anything to the whiteboard though. And also, if I was to come here and click on a card, that works. If I was to click on a whiteboard, if I double clicked on it, that does work. So I can navigate around and I can click on things. Some things work, some things do not. The mind map does. So your mileage will vary when you're on mobile here. Yes, so it's not as full-fledged, but at least you have access to your data. Heptabase does have an offline feature where it syncs your notes to these different clients so that you can use them offline. And I think it works pretty well here. Your highlights show up. Again, not the same as what you get from the desktop version or the web app, but you still get a good amount of features and functionalities on the actual mobile app, and it is pretty responsive. You can do searches. Let me do that same search we did before, and that shows up fine, no issues, and we can just go ahead and navigate through. It's pretty simple with the buttons that are below. You only have home, the calendar with the journal search, and then a new actual note. All right, so that is pretty much it. I kind of went through the full thing, didn't go too deep on things, but I wanted to give a general sense of what you can do with Heptabase and provide some feedback on the application itself. So if you liked the video, don't forget to like and subscribe to the channel. And until the next time, have a nice day.